In today's episode, I'll be talking about mistakes I have made. You're listening to the Pharmacist Voice Podcast, a journey-style podcast about my career pivot from pharmacist to voice actor. I'm your host, Kim Newlove. I alternate solo shows and interview shows. The solo shows are about my career change, and the interview shows feature a variety of people who use their voices to advocate, educate, or entertain. Thank you for joining me for episode 4, Mistakes I Have Made. Now, why would I create a podcast episode about mistakes I've made? Well, I want you to know that I'm human. I make mistakes, but I do try to fail forward. I learn from my mistakes and I don't give up. Whenever possible, I like to learn from the mistakes of others. It saves me the hassle of making the same mistake. Have you ever made a mistake? It happens. Forget to put gas in the car before a long trip? Burn dinner because you forgot to set a timer? Well, I've made mistakes on my journey from pharmacist to voice actor. It's okay to share your mistakes. I'll share some of mine with you today. In fact, I'll share 7 of my mistakes with you. First of all, let's talk about my logo, my company logo. If you go to my website, www.thepharmacistvoice.com, that's the pharmacist with an S, voice.com, you'll see my logo. I love my logo. It's great. But that's not the first logo that Margot ever came up with. My graphic designer is named Margot. She's wonderful. I'll put her contact info in the show notes, so if you want a logo, you can contact Margot too. But when I first got my logo, I was so in love with it. It was my letters TPV, the pharmacist voice, arranged in such a way that it was artistic and beautiful. But what ended up happening was it kind of looked like an inappropriate shape and I didn't realize it. So thank you, Jake, if you're listening. You helped me realize that my first logo was actually not the right logo for me. We went back to the drawing board and the rest is history. We came up with a great logo. I love it. I've been using it ever since. Thank you, Margot. Mistake number 2, hoarding ideas and not sharing them. I used to hoard my ideas and not share them because I feared idea theft. I know that sometimes people share an idea, somebody steals it, they run with it, they make $1 million off of it. I don't know why I thought that was going to happen with me, but let me just say, I've shared my idea with a whole lot of people and nobody has stolen it. I think it was an unfounded fear, and I think I may have hurt some people's feelings when I said, I'm not going to share my idea with you because I'm afraid you're going to steal it. Yes, I think those words actually came out of my mouth. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I really thought maybe somebody might steal my idea and make money off of it and I'd miss out. What I didn't realize is that I missed out. I missed out on input. I missed out on input from others. I was at all kinds of tables with great thinkers, and I didn't share my idea because I was afraid somebody might steal it and run with it. I missed out on their input because I was afraid. Now that I'm a few months older and wiser, I have gotten a lot of great input on my ideas. All I had to do was share them. Number 3, working with people outside of the voiceover industry to do branding and marketing. I'm not going to name any names here, but I was under the impression that branding and marketing could be done by anybody. Boy, was I wrong. There are some brilliant people out there, but if they're not in the right industry, they don't have the right set of eyes and ears and thinking for what I needed. Working with people outside the voiceover industry to do branding and marketing was a mistake I made. I need to find people within this industry and trust them. Yeah, they know the industry. And I also need to make connections with the people who do branding and marketing. I don't just need one person. I need many. Number 4, narrating pharmacy continuing education journals. I assumed that idea would work. It still might, but it doesn't look good. Something I didn't realize at first was that narrating journals may not be a thing because they weren't meant to be read out loud. Maybe a summary could be an alternative, though. Ellipses, abbreviations, and other elements make it really difficult to read straight through. Complicated sentence structure needs to be simplified. Even some of the more conversational journals create barriers to using journals as a script. Try this one from a journal that will remain nameless. About 1 in 9 high schoolers and 1 in 30 middle schoolers use e-cigs more than any other tobacco product. And there's about a 4-fold increase in use of traditional cigarettes among teens who have used e-cigs. Some content just needs to be written differently. This should sound better. E-cigarettes are used among middle school and high school students more than any other product. By the numbers, that's about 1 in 30 middle schoolers and 1 in 9 high schoolers. Traditional cigarette use among teens has also increased 4-fold. Delivery is important. Even though I started off with the idea for my company to be narrating pharmacy continuing education journals, the mistake is assuming that it would work. Number 5, assuming everyone will like my voice and my vocal age, energy, and accent will be right for the job. Once I came up with my idea to narrate pharmacy continuing education journals, I thought, geez, of course I'm the right voice. And of course my accent and my energy and my vocal age are going to be right for the job. Well, let me tell you, something that I've learned through the branding process is that my vocal age is way younger than my chronological age, and my energy level is quite high for a woman of my age. And my accent? I have a Midwestern accent, pretty thick Midwestern accent. I live about 60 to 70 miles from the US-Canada border through Detroit, Michigan, and Windsor, Canada. You can hear it in my accent. That's not right for every job. Number 6, NaPodPoMo. Say what? NaPodPoMo is National Podcast Post Month. I heard about it on the School of Podcasting, and I thought it would be a great way to break into podcasting. What it means is posting one podcast episode daily, every day for the month of November. 30 episodes in 30 days. Now, some people join late and they end up getting 30 within the 30-day period of time, but maybe they'll do 30 in a week. I had never podcast before, and I was trying to pull my show together really quickly in November. I didn't do it. I had said that I was going to do it openly on at least 2 Facebook group pages, and I didn't do it. And I was disappointed in myself. It was a goal I had set, and I didn't achieve it, and I was a little disappointed. Now that I'm podcasting, I realize it's one of the easiest and hardest things at the same time that I have ever done. It's kind of like being a mom. So, mistake number 6 was NaPodPoMo. I thought I could do it, and I couldn't. And that's okay. I forgave myself, and I moved on. And number 7, staying in situations that aren't right for me. I want to talk in particular about jobs. I stayed at a job for too long. I realized that what I was being paid to do and what I wanted to do were 2 completely different things, and I needed to move on. And I didn't do it when I should have. So I'm going to say this. I don't want to say anything bad about my former employer, but working in a retail pharmacy, a large chain retail pharmacy, was hard. There's a lot of press right now about pharmacists and working conditions. It's just coming out. This is kind of hard to talk about. When I came on board in 2002, I was working for a completely different company than what I left in 2011. I loved that job. I felt like I was part of the family in 2002. By the time I left in 2011, I can't believe I had stayed there that long. It changed so much. Pharmacists in the community setting have it rough. For anybody out there that hasn't ever worked in a pharmacy in the United States, the working conditions are not the best. Large chain retail pharmacies expect a lot. Over the years, the expectation has changed. It's hard when you're a pharmacist and somebody keeps moving the target. I wanted to provide care to people, the best care I possibly could. But what the company cared about, or at least what my manager cared about, was numbers I was hitting. I was judged on whether I was a good pharmacist or not by whether I hit numbers or not. By the time I left, I felt like I was a bad pharmacist because I could only fill a prescription in 16 minutes instead of in less than 15. Every day I would walk into the pharmacy, my boss would have a piece of paper and want to talk to me about KPIs. How did I do on my KPIs? I knew they weren't where they needed to be, but I felt like I provided really good care. It's not easy standing on your feet for 8 hours without a break. And when I say a break, I mean nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and no bathroom breaks. They're not scheduled. I even had a tech say to me once, "You make enough money. It's hazard pay. Just put up with it." I've had the drive-thru asking for me, the front window, the consultation window, somebody that needs to be rung up, voicemails up the yin-yang, 3 lines waiting to talk to me. It's just overwhelming. And then February 2011 happened. Oprah, if you're listening, I want you to know that you had something to do with my leaving my job. I don't blame you, and there's no bad feelings, really. I think you're great. February is Heart Disease Awareness Month in the United States, and Oprah combined forces with my former employer to provide blood pressure screenings free of charge. It added additional workload to me at a time that I couldn't handle it. If you want to think of it like this, I was overwhelmed, I didn't have enough help. My boss already told me I was a bad pharmacist because I couldn't fill prescriptions quickly enough. And then I had to do this thing that I liked to do, and I could do well, but it made my times even later. I just felt like an even worse pharmacist. I couldn't handle it, and I left. I had 2 small children at home. My husband traveled overseas quite a bit, and we had just figured out how to live off of just one income. Time was right. I left. It was at this time of the year. It was February. I worked for this employer for 9 years, and I have now been away from this employer for 9 years. It's kind of funny. I was with them as long as I have now been away from them. The point is, it gives me perspective. So it made it as number 7 on my list of mistakes I've made. I stayed too long. I didn't realize until a straw had to break the camel's back. Blood pressure screenings, my husband traveling, having little kids. It just was all too much. Learn from my mistake. Don't stay too long. Let's wrap this episode up. I'm human, and I have made mistakes. Will I make more? You bet. Am I going to give up because of them? No way. Will I learn from my mistakes and the mistakes of others? Of course. I am enjoying my transition from pharmacist to voice actor, and I'm taking the good with the bad. If you're making a transition too, give yourself some grace. Making a change can be really hard. You will make some mistakes. Use your failures to do better in the future, and don't give up. If possible, though, learn from the mistakes of others. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacist Voice podcast with me, your host, Kim Newlove. Will I succeed in the voiceover industry? Subscribe and find out. Please visit thepharmacistvoice.com to subscribe and read the show notes.